Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is Stephen Dalton. I'm an Irish storyteller, and it's my great privilege to be the voice that you listen to as you go to sleep tonight. Tonight, I present to you a story that I loved writing. It brought great joy to me as, in fact, I discovered it as I narrated it. I grew with the story, if you'll excuse the pun. For this is a story about a garden and two people whose love blossomed in the garden. I really hope you like this one. And if you'd like more from the garden, let me know in the comments. If you want the video to end at a particular point, YouTube allows you to set a timer in the settings. And don't forget to disable autoplay to avoid ads from upcoming videos. Okay, let's do the relaxation session now, which will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep story. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel yourself supported in this moment. The support that is offered by your bed, or the floor, or whatever you might be sleeping on. And the earth beneath that. The earth supports us. No matter what height in a building we are at, the earth is always there. It's constant. So feel the support of that, the solidity, and allow that solidity to enable you to let go a little more now. 9. Feel into your body now. Just notice whatever might be happening in your body. Where are you holding tonight? Are you holding in your feet? Are you holding in your hands? Are you holding in your face? Are you holding in your neck? Do you feel any tingling or any pain? Just notice anything now, and anything you can release or soften a little. Try and allow that to happen now. 8. The day is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. In this moment, allow yourself to indulge in the enjoyment that is before you. The opportunity to listen to my voice, bringing you to a place of peace and safety. Whatever thoughts you might have about the day that just was, they won't serve you in this moment. Whatever thoughts you might have about what is to come, they won't serve you in this moment either. So surrender to the moment now. Don't fight the thoughts. Just see them for what they are. Thoughts. And imagine them floating away, like clouds passing through a starry sky. 7. You are safe. You are okay. Allow my voice to be a friend of safety that will only take you to safe places. Allow my voice to be an anchor, a point of safety to come to as you approach sleep. Know that you are safe and that all is fine. 6. This is your moment. You deserve rest. We all do. So allow that fact to bring you deeper into this moment now, to feel a further softening. 5. There is always peace within you. It is a part of you. It lives within you. It may not always be seen, but it's just waiting to be discovered. Allow yourself to see that peace now within you. Allow yourself to feel that peace within you. 4. Perhaps allow a little gratitude for this moment. Indulge in this moment. Indulge in the coziness of it. Get a little more comfortable if you want. Really snuggle into this moment, for you deserve it. 3. Begin to engage with your imagination now. Begin to see a red brick house in the great city of London in the year 1967. And see if you can notice the garden in the back. This is the garden that you will hear about tonight. 2. You have nowhere to be now. Nowhere to go. 1. Completely letting go now, as I tell you tonight's sleep story. Jim loves this place. He has seen it change over many years. In fact, if it wasn't for him, this place wouldn't really exist. He looks at the fountain, and thinks of his children and how they used to play in it on warm, sunny days. He looks at the swing chair and sees Emily, his wife, breathing in the sunshine on a warm spring morning. He looks at the apple he is holding and the tree that it came from, and thinks of the toil and years it took him to grow everything here. This is Jim's garden. Well, Jim and Emily's garden. And this is Jim's world. Allow me, now, if you will, to tell you the story of Jim and Emily's garden. The year is 1967, and Jim has just moved to London from the countryside area of Somerset. Oh, how he misses the feeling of being in the open. London in 1967 is a place that is alive with activity. And while there's nothing wrong with that, Jim craves peace. He carries the quiet soul of the countryside within him. And now that he's just bought his first home, he has realized that he could bring that peace right into the heart of London, in this garden he has behind his house. It's a patchwork of overgrown weeds and hardened soil, and it certainly is a world away from the verdant fields and beaches of his youth. Yet to Jim, it whispers a promise of connection, a chance to nurture and to be nurtured. One morning, as he wakes up in his new home, he looks out upon the garden and decides that today is the day. Today is the day that he will begin to make this garden something special. And so once he gets ready, he stands looking at his garden. He observes the wild tangle of plants, the uneven lay of the land. But he can see beyond this. He also observes how the city's noise seems to stop at the garden's edge, as if respecting this little piece of paradise. Well, not quite yet, but in Jim's mind it is. He sees it already in his mind's eye, what it will be. And he feels like this garden and him belong together already. that he has a deep-rooted understanding that this is where he is meant to rekindle his bond with the earth. He starts by clearing the land. It's no easy task, and each pull of a weed, each cutting down of an unwanted thorn bush is a release of the city's grip upon him. Every movement, every effort relaxes him a little bit more. He is becoming connected to this place. This little piece of green space in one of the most built-up areas in the world. As he works, he thinks about the idea of gardens. Why do we have them? Why do we reserve little areas to keep green? But to Jim it makes sense. It's almost not worth asking the question. We need to be with nature. It's in our DNA. It's only very recently in human history that we have lived in these big built-up areas. And so a garden gives us calm, gives us connection to who we really are, deep within our souls. Jim works patiently, now on the soil, turning and loosening it, allowing air and life to seep back into it. This physical connection to the earth, his hands immersed in soil, becomes a meditative act for Jim. With each weed removed, with each patch of earth turned, Jim feels a part of himself awakening. Yes, he could be back, living on a farm in Somerset. And maybe he will one day. But there is something about this challenge that enables Jim to grow alongside this garden. It's a symbiotic relationship. As he nurtures the garden, it, in turn, nurtures him. As Jim works, day after day, week after week, the garden begins to reveal its hidden potential. He started the work in winter. And now, one early spring morning, he uncovers a small, forgotten rose bush. He is immediately inspired by its resilience in the face of neglect, and he carefully prunes it, whispering words of encouragement. As the spring takes hold, Jim finds himself in the garden all of the time, and it's beginning to look like a garden. The land has been cleared, and he's begun to plant little plants around. It's nowhere near what he wants it to be, but in this he recognizes something: that he can't live for what will be. He needs to enjoy his life right now, and to be content with the state of things just as they are. As he works one beautiful London spring evening, planting a flower bed next to an old red brick wall, the first stars begin to appear above him, and he just stops and breathes in the moment. In and out. In and out. And as he looks around at the old Victorian buildings, he thinks of the people that have passed before us, the people that built the house he lives in, and the houses that surround it, the people that built this garden. And he dwells on the fact that even those humans, like him, were probably in a hurry to get somewhere. It's part of the problem of being human. It's within us to always want more, to always be climbing one mountain or another. It's why we've come so far as a species. But as he looks at his unfinished garden, he recognizes that it is perfect just as it is. Because firstly, perfection doesn't exist. And secondly, it's all in the eye of the beholder. He is happy the garden has taught him this lesson, and it will go on to be a guiding philosophy in his life. Something he remembers in those moments where he's rushing himself, where he's craving the next thing. Once he has the simple things, the fundamental things, he's okay. He goes back to work planting, and feeling even more at peace in his garden. Then a little bird lands next to him, and they share a moment. And he can see that this garden will not just be a home for him. It will be a home for many, including, he hopes, one day, a family. The next day is one of those spring days that stay in your mind forever. It is so beautiful, Jim thinks, to see the earth coming to life again. He decides that today is the day he will begin his vegetable garden. The idea of growing his own food is both exciting and a little daunting, but Jim is drawn to the challenge. He envisions a corner of his garden teeming with life, bearing the fruits of his labor and care. He begins by selecting a spot in the garden that receives ample sunlight throughout the day, and with methodical precision, he measures and marks out the area, envisioning rows of vegetables and herbs. The physical work of preparing the ground is strenuous, yet satisfying. Jim digs and turns the soil, enriching it with compost to ensure a fertile bed for the seeds he plans to sow. And as the warm spring sunshine meets his face, he closes his eyes for a moment and feels deep gratitude for this little patch of earth that he can call his. Then comes the selection of seeds, which is a thoughtful process. Jim chooses a variety of vegetables: carrots, beans, potatoes, and some leafy greens. He also selects herbs like basil, parsley, rosemary, and thyme, imagining the flavors that they will add to his meals. Planting the seeds, Jim feels a sense of warm anticipation. Each one of these little seeds holds the promise of nourishment and enjoyment. One day, as Jim is out in the garden, looking at the vegetables slowly coming into view, he hears a knock on the garden gate. He goes to answer it And there, standing in front of him, is a woman who introduces herself as Emily. Now, Jim has met many people in his life, women included, but there is something about this Emily that he's not quite sure about, in a good way. For in this moment, even though he's just met her and hardly said 2 words to her, he feels a connection to this individual like he has never felt to any individual in his entire existence. And he thinks, although he can't be sure, that the feeling might be mutual. Emily has come around to see if Jim has any salt. She's just moved in next door and is trying to bake a recipe and needs just a little salt. Then she spots the garden beyond Jim and asks him about it. He invites her to see his garden. In fact, she'll be the first person he's ever shown the garden to. And so she comes in. Little does she know that she's just stepped in to the garden that will change her life forever. She looks at the flowers beginning to open, the vegetables beginning to pop above the soil, the little buds on the newly planted trees about to spring into life. And she looks at Jim, standing there, humble as you like, and asks him if he did all this. He nods with a smile, inwardly proud of what he's achieved. And Emily, blushing, remembers what she came for, the salt. Jim goes and gets it, and awkwardly returns, wishing she would stay and forget about her recipe. Emily takes the salt, wishing she could stay and forget about her recipe too. Then, just as she's about to walk through the little gate, she turns and asks Jim if he'd ever like some help in the garden. He says yes immediately, probably a bit too fast. And Emily smiles and giggles slightly, and they agree that tomorrow would be a good day. It will be a Saturday after all, and the weather is expected to be good. That night, Jim goes to sleep with a smile on his face, anticipating the day that will follow. And next door, only on the other side of the wall, Emily goes to sleep with the same thoughts in her mind. They both slept deeply that night, and the following day, as the late spring sunshine brought new life and maybe new love to the world, Jim and Emily shared great joy in the little garden. Jim was impressed. Emily seemed to know her stuff. And what was most magic about this shared day was that they worked together for a lot of the time in silence. But it was the most comfortable silence any two people had ever experienced. They, of course, talked about their dreams. Jim told Emily the story of the garden, and they laughed. Oh, how they laughed. This garden, once a testament to Jim's solitude, was now witnessing the blossoming of a beautiful friendship, and perhaps the start of a new family. The vegetables and flowers, once symbols of his lone toil, were becoming part of a larger story, one of companionship, new beginnings, and the unexpected twists that life can take. The garden had always been Jim's world, and now it was opening up to embrace Emily. Months went by, and the seasons changed. Summer arrived, with its blooms and beauty, and Jim and Emily shared many long evenings, enjoying what was becoming their garden. And then autumn arrived, and on one cozy, rainy evening, as the light was fading, the city drenched in a romantic mistiness, Jim led Emily into the garden, which seemed to be holding its breath in anticipation. They both loved the rain and didn't mind getting wet, and so they walked hand in hand between the rows of wet flowers and plants, their vibrant colors intensified by the rain. The air is fresh and earthy, the essence of the garden amplified by the downpour. And in the heart of their garden, near the rose bush that Jim first uncovered, Jim stops. He turns to Emily. his eyes reflecting the depth of his emotion. The rain patters around them, a cocoon of privacy in the bustling city. And with his heart beating in his chest, Jim gets down on one knee. The rain continues to fall, and he presents a small, delicate ring, as timeless and beautiful as the garden they've tended together. "Emily," he begins, his voice steady, despite the storm of emotions within him. "In this garden, we've grown something beautiful together. Something that I want to last a lifetime. Will you marry me?" Emily, tears mingling with raindrops on her cheeks, nods her agreement, her voice a joyful whisper. They embrace, the rain enveloping them in a world of their own. The garden, their witness and companion through seasons of change, stands as a testament to their journey from two solitary souls to partners in life, bound by love and the magic of a garden in the heart of a great city. That winter was like nothing either of them had ever experienced. It was the coziest winter, as they sat inside for much of it and enjoyed a crackling fire and looking out upon their constant friend, the garden. The garden slept now, and they found great peace within their souls, a feeling of acceptance like no other, a feeling of letting things be. Emily loved the crisp, clear winter nights, when the garden became a stage for the moon's silvery light, and she would wrap herself in a warm coat and step out into the frosty air, her breath forming clouds in front of her as the stars twinkle overhead. And then spring would arrive, and then summer, and then autumn, and then winter, and like that, a couple more times, and then little people would arrive in the garden. Two eventually. Lily and Oliver. And just like for their parents, this garden would become their home, a place that forms their childhood memories, a place that would be the foundation of their lives, the fertilizer for their growth. And they loved all seasons in the garden. In the springtime, it was a place of discovery and play for them. They would marvel at the miracle of metamorphosis as they watch caterpillars transform into butterflies, a display of nature's magic right before their eyes. They would chase each other through the little flowering meadow, their laughter an echo that breathes even more life into the garden. And on spring evenings, as the garden became a place of tranquil beauty, Jim, Emily, Lily, and Oliver would often gather to share a meal under the canopy of a blooming apple tree. They dine al fresco, surrounded by the soft glow of lanterns and the fragrance of night blooming flowers. And it was certainly in these moments that time seemed to stand still, allowing them to savor the present fully. This garden, under the blanket of stars at night, was a sanctuary for this family, where worries faded away, and all that remained was the joy of being together, enveloped in the beauty of spring. And it was in moments like this that Jim would dwell on what had come about. This beautiful garden that now was home to his family. And he would look at each of them with depth, and understand that without this garden, none of this would exist. In fact, Lily and Oliver wouldn't have existed without this garden. This garden brought not only plants, vegetables, flowers, and trees into existence, but also human beings. There would be many other great and joyful moments. Summer in the garden was a time of lush abundance. Jim would revel in the early mornings when the first rays of sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled patterns on the ground. He would take his morning walks among the vibrant flowers and ripening vegetables, the air rich with the scent of blooming jasmine and roses, and the gentle hum of bees busily tending to the flowers. And on autumn afternoons, it was a time for harvesting. Jim would take great satisfaction in gathering the fruits of his labor. Apples from the apple trees, pumpkins from the vine, and a variety of vegetables from the plot. And as he collected each item, he felt a great sense of fulfillment. The weight of the produce in his hands, the earthy smell of the harvest, and the rustling of dry leaves underfoot were all reminders of the garden's generosity and the rewarding cycle of nurturing and being nurtured. And now, back in the present day, Jim stands with Emily in the heart of their beloved garden. They walk hand in hand, surrounded by the mature beauty of the garden, and they look upon it with deep love. And they look at each other with deep love. And they know each other so well that they don't need to say anything, because they know what each other are thinking. They are in their garden, and they are reflecting on what this place means to them. Without it, they don't have the life that they have lived. It is as much a part of their family as Oliver and Lily are. And there they stand, in the place where Jim proposed to Emily, all of those many years ago. And they hug each other and walk back inside, feeling as ever at home in their little patch of planet Earth, their garden.